Okay, people. So now it is September 15th, 2019. It's about, oh, I don't know, 8:15 in the morning. And I'm just starting my day. So what I've done is I have pulled out a whole bunch of outfits that I made in 2005, 6 and 7, mainly. All right. That's what happens when you look after a family. Things that you used to do, you don't tend to get around to doing much with them. So anyway, I got them hanging up right now on this coat rack in my living room. And as Edgar vacates Auntie ShaMay's room, they will be going downstairs, and then I'll be, I don't know, doing something with them. I don't know what to do with them, people. Some of them I want to chop and shorten, just because, right? It's the sign of the times. Short and sexy. Yeah. In those days, when I made these things, I was thinking of a fashion show. All right, so I was building up outfits for a fashion show to promote, one, I guess, my outfits, and two, the foundation that I work on, right? Because that was, a fashion show was one means to build in fundraisers, right? And because I was a seamstress, it only made sense that I was going to do a fashion show. The only thing is, when poor people don't have money and you want to do things, but you can't pay your way in terms of like putting on a real fancy-dancy fashion show, you know, the couple, the two that I did, because I did two. I did two with these outfits, right? In two separate clubs. I did them in nightclubs. And, no, because I'm a nobody, a no name, right? And, you know, didn't promote it very good, and, or whatever, right? You know, it was, I mean, it was okay, but I would have preferred more glamour, right? Besides that point. So after that, those things kind of just went in the closet, and they've been kind of like pretty much hanging there ever since. All right? Serious. So I got to do something with them. I have to make web pages, people. As if I have time to sit there with my bad eyes doing HTML. Taking pictures, cropping, reformatting, changing the format, like, you know, from a bitmap to a GIF, right? Or to a JPEG or PNG or whatever it is. You got to have super brain for this shit. Alright, and then they come along and they change the JavaScript tags, and, you know, they make some things obsolete, and then you have to find replacements. This is when you're making web pages, right? Like, you used to be able to upload MIDIs and embed MIDIs into your web pages, and they got rid of basically MIDIs, and then they brought in MP4s or whatever they're called, M4Ps or... So then you're having to convert over into an, you know, an MP4 just so that you can embed it into your web page, right? In terms of like a MIDI. Because I like MIDIs on my web page. I just do. Right? So you have to have the little players in there that can be picked up by the internet so it plays correctly when you open up the page. So anyway, get to the point. Okay, the point is, people, I haven't been in ShaMay's room since the first couple of weeks, and even then, from when she died. So obviously, She went, her body. She didn't went, her body. Her body was taken to the hospital April 11th. I was rooting around in her room that day, looking for paperwork for court, basically for Amari, and to see if there was anything I could find that would suggest why she was the way she was. And then the girls, Tisha and Paige and whoever, you know, were in ShaMay's room looking for ShaMay's phone and any clues as to what happened to ShaMay. And then eventually it was the girls who cleared out ShaMay's room, not me. I hardly went in there. I only went in there for the first couple of days. After that, I didn't go in there. And then the girls cleared it out. And then the cops showed up, like 3 weeks later. Like, seriously, it was fucking stupid. The investigators. 3 weeks later, people. And by this point, you know, we're like, who's going to rent this room? We need to be able to cover the rent and the hydros. And I don't know. Edgar took on that. So he pretty much moved in within the 5th week, I guess, of ShaMay dying. But he paid for the month, right? And so I only went in her room for the first 3 days. Outside of poking my nose in and seeing that it was basically empty when the cops showed up, right? And they're like, well, why is the room empty? Like, and we're like, well, it's like going on to the 4th week here, you know, we have to do something with this room. Can't leave it just sitting doing nothing, right? ShaMay's dead. By this time, ShaMay's dead, right? So the girls did it. They cleared out her room. They went through her stuff. Tisha did whatever Tisha did with ShaMay's stuff. And, you know, some of her friends got some things, I don't know what, but I wasn't there, right? I trusted Tisha. It was her sister. Right? You know, they talked to each other every day, including on the day ShaMay was murdered. Okay? They talked for 1 hour before ShaMay went into the living room. There was no indication that ShaMay was doing drugs. Absolutely none. So anyway, but now that Edgar's moving out, right? I'm taking over that room. So I'm having like, oh, I don't know, kind of like panic attacks. Going into it, I'm setting down roots in terms of, you know, we're going to call it Auntie ShaMay's room, aka storage room for canning, basically, and fabrics for sewing, to sew things. And it just so happens I have things back from 2005, because I really pumped them out in those days, people. That's when Uncle John and we moved into that shanty shack. And I had my table completely full, like it with the leaves. So it was big, and I had like 3 dressmaking forms, right? And I was working with 3 dressmaking forms as I was going through bolts of fabric. Okay? I'd just roll out 5 meters and start cutting. And then from those 5 meters, I'd do something on those 3, what do you call those things? Dressmaking forms. And I just bulked everything up because I was going to do a fashion show. That was it. Right? That's when I was really gung-ho with the foundation back in those days. right? And then after I did the costumes, the outfits, that's when I really got into the typing and the writing the 50/50s for the provincial government and proposals for the city and nightclubs and, you know, lobbying, I guess you could say, the provincial government for $160 million for seed money, you know. Go get me my money, right? $160 million is seed money times 10 years. To jumpstart a universal school meal program in the province of British Columbia, Canada. And little did I know that all that was going to lead to illegal organ harvesting. So anyway, now that I'm going back into Auntie ShaMay's room, you know, I'm trying to, for Alea May's sake and Andre's sake, I don't know if Amari will ever understand what happened to his mother, what has happened to his family, what has happened to him. But most definitely, Andre and Alea May, and even my own kids, and their friends who are closely attached to us. You know, I want the memories of ShaMay to be, what is it called? Happy and positive and strong. Not ugly, miserable, and disgusting. Although you can't let those slide under the table and forget or act like it never existed. Because ultimately there were crimes committed in there that need to be addressed. Right? And starting with the cops showing up fucking 3.5 weeks later saying, why did you empty out a room? Well, I don't know. Maybe you just didn't fucking show up and did your job. How about that? Maybe you guys never did your fucking job the first fucking day you showed up and you stood there and acted like you didn't know what was going on because you were going ting ting, ting ting, ting ting, ting ting, ting ting in your fucking pea brains of greed. Because that's all it is, people. It's just greed. I don't know where these people think they're taking their fucking money. Like, seriously. And people need to start looking at these fucking old age pensioners that, oh, well, I was a cop when I was, you know, young and spry, and I earned my fucking retirement because I was protecting the public. Yeah, well, you know what? Newsflash. People are starting to come out of the woodwork and exposing you guys for what you really fucking are. And you're scoundrels. You're a colluded group of scoundrels. Right? Doesn't take 3.5 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever the fuck it was. It was more than 3 weeks, people. Because the room was almost empty. I think there was a bed left in there. ShaMay's bed. Because when Edgar moved in, that bed went into the living room, and then it sat there until we gave it to somebody else. We still had the futon with the pee stains and the poo stains on it, but they ignored it. They just, okay, move on. Right? Because they already had the picture. They already had the evidence. They just ignored it when the day she died. Right? And that's the point. That's the point. It's always going to be like that, people. For Andre and Alea May, it's going to be that skeleton in the closet, that rumorville, that, you know, suspicion, that pointing fingers, never at the fucking professional, but at the victims. So anyway, obviously I'm getting a little teary-eyed thinking about reconnecting with my daughter, basically. Trying to reconnect with my daughter and bring balance in the life with some peace where you can actually think and believe that you can move forward with your life and not feel as if your life is in jeopardy of being attacked. When you least expect it, people. Nobody expected Uncle John to go suddenly fucking missing because he caught a flu that was let out in the community that was killing freaking tens and tens of people. I wouldn't say 100, but like 30, 40 homeless people in one fucking season. ShaMay and Tisha were working at McDonald's serving 1,000 homeless people every fucking day. Sierra was running around out there homeless. Got the freaking flu. The Surrey flu in 2015. So whether it was Sierra coming in through the back door talking to Uncle John and gave it to him, or whether it was my girls working at McDonald's and servicing all those homeless people every fucking day because they were both working, right? And brought it home. Eventually, Uncle John got it. He was the last one to get it. And because of his age, right, he got a little bit of delirium. And because I slept for a fucking week, I didn't want him to get dehydrated and die on me, in case he decided to sleep for a week. So we played the safe card, and what happened? They destroyed his life. It's amazing he still has a room after all this time. It's still Uncle John's room. Well, just like ShaMay. ShaMay has her own room, too. Yeah, she has the one upstairs, and Mari's in that room. But the room downstairs is Auntie ShaMay's room. So this video, see, I can't even read, people. That's how blind I am. I can't read that. Auntie ShaMay's closet. A mother's dream. Justice for ShaMay. So, these outfits, when they go, and after I get off this, I'm going to just quickly show you, and then I'm going to upload the video, and I'm just going to get on with my fucking day, right? And not be afraid to walk into my own daughter's bedroom and try and set down some roots and get in touch with those feelings that I had when she was alive, to where I have purses, for example, that I have collected over the years. And I always told ShaMay and Tisha, one day between the two of you, you guys get to share these purses when I'm gone, because those are my purses, right? And, you know, you can wait, right? Sooner or later, or maybe one day we'll go through them together, all three of us, and I'll give to you and downsize. Sierra, I would never give to, because she'd just lose it. She'd lose it, she'd trash it, you know, I mean, she's beyond material things, right? She'd cherish it for a few moments, but it wouldn't be long before it was either taken from her, she lost it, or it got ruined. So there is no point to give it to Sierra. So I have these beautiful purses that, and if you ask Tisha, she'll tell you, oh yeah, Mom used to say, you know, her and I and ShaMay, we'd all get together and we'd go through these purses, or Mom would have to die first, and then me and ShaMay, we can share it. Well, now ShaMay's not here, and I can't give it to her. Right? So I say to Tisha, well, I guess you inherited all the purses. So ShaMay, she got shortchanged, right? So anyway, these outfits, you know, as a mother, when you have children, you want to teach them something, right? And you normally go about teaching them the things that you know, basically. I mean, how can you teach something unless you don't know, right? For the most part. So because I sewed, you know, I always wanted to teach my girls how to sew. But as a busy mother that, you know, gets up in the trenches and is always doing the grunt work, sometimes you don't have the time to actually sit down and do it with them. So, you know, I'd bring home the machine, you know, I've got extra sewing machines, I got extra desks, I've got extra sergers, you know, I've got fabric, so nothing ever prevented them from sewing if they really wanted to sew. It's just I never really had the time to walk them through it. Right? And especially in this house, because basically I haven't sewed for like 9 years, people. I just haven't. I've been too busy in the yard. A yard that I quite possibly have to walk away from in the near future. And then I tell myself, well, you know, just see it as a donation. Because I'm like, okay, if your landlady is trying to force you out and you know, you really got a strong sense on that one, you know, and you've got all these water hose connectors, right? Because there's a big yard. So I have the hoses. Over a period of time, I bought the connectors so I can cut the hose. I can put two pieces together with the connectors, and then I can run my hoses so that eventually when I turn on my tap, the water goes where I want it to go, and I don't have to be dragging around a great big water hose all the time, right? That is the idea. So anyway, I got a big bag of all these connectors. I just haven't connected the hoses yet, right? And being that my landlady, you know, in a lot of ways is giving me the, you know, the fucking, like, you know, you just either pay more rent or get the fuck out. If you don't like it, you can move. Take it as is, you know, like, just all of it, right? And I'm like, okay, your time is running out. You can see that you're not going to be in this house for that much longer. It wasn't like you were starting off 10 years ago, oh, gung-ho, I'm going to be here for a long time. Landlord said, move in, stay as long as you want. Yes, put down roots, you know, yes, you know, be happy, do all these things for me. And now that the majority of it's done, with the economy the way it is, which is just fucking overinflated, hyperinflated, it's not even a real economy, people. It's not even a real fucking economy. It's some subspace, you know, different dimensional freaking illusion, right? Forcing me out. So why would I want to go and spend 4 days chopping up hoses, taking $100 and some odd, if not more, of connectors to connect them so I can run them through the fucking yard to make it easy for the next person that fucking moves into this house? As I'm being kicked out the door saying you didn't do enough. You didn't pay enough. You didn't do enough. Right? You've got too many fucking personal problems, even though some of those personal problems come directly from my fucking kind. Okay? I never said her, I said her kind. Okay? I live in a more than average Punjabi community. There's more than 50% of the population in this area is fucking Punjabi. And they can't sit there and say that some of my problems are not directly related to them in terms of there is no affordable housing because they're too busy fucking keeping up with the Chinese, running the fucking scams with these flipping of properties so that the property developer can come in. The property developer is king. He's God. He's God because he makes all these beautiful homes that when you fucking take off the freaking cover and you look at kind of what walls they're putting in them in terms of presto wood, they're not even building them with real fucking wood, people. Presto wood absorbs water. And they're running them with plastic pipes. With clamps on them. That's what almost electrocuted me in that fucking grow-up situation in that fourplex. The clamp on the plastic pipe fucking broke off and was shooting water at a dryer that was on. And this is what they're stringing up these houses with. With Presto wood for walls. But because they're big, you know, and they look like a castle, some of them, people just take it for face value, that illusion. And they're rich. Yeah, well, some of them are rich. You going around selling illegal organs and fucking harvesting them like freaking candy. Yeah, damn right you're going to be rich. These doctors, they don't come here to fucking help people out in Canada. They come here to make money. Money. That's what they come here for, people. If they were doctors and wanted to help people, they would stay in their own fucking countries and they would advocate for their own people, but they don't. They leave them behind to live in squalor, and then they bring that same fucking attitude over here, and they go for the weakest of the weak, the poorest of the poor, the most vulnerable, to make money. Money, money, money. So they can have their Presto board fucking wired up with plastic pipe fucking houses, running around town bragging about how rich, not how smart they are, not how educated they are, but how fucking rich they are. It's all about being rich. I'm the property developer. I'm rich. I'm God. I'm king. Who cares if your daughter got murdered by fentanyl? Doesn't matter to me, because my friend over there that lives in that fucking monster house, he's the one who's running fucking fentanyl through the fucking community. So why would I say anything? I won't. No, that's the reality of it, people. So, do I really want to go off and spend $150? I already spent it. I already have the hardware. Run the fucking pipes. And then when I walk away from this place at some point in the future, I just see it as charity, because I'm sure in the hell not going to go through the fucking yard, chopping up hoses to get my hardware to take it with me. Because once I leave, I'm not doing it again. I'm not taking on another fucking yard like this again. With no money, no moral support from the fucking community, because, at least Americans, they'll come together and they'll help sometimes somebody do the shit that I do. But I'm expected to do this stuff all by myself. I'll just go out there and start pulling more and more and go, it doesn't matter how many fucking bags you pull as long as you pull it, because if you don't pull it, the yard looks like trash and that's your fault. Huh? Anyway. So, back to what I was talking about, right? I have anxiety nesting in Auntie ShaMay's room, right? Because it's too close to home, people, in terms of the reminder of what happened to her. But this is something that I have to do. I have to do it so that there could be a healing process, because through doing it this way, what I'm going to show you can go down there, and then us ladies on YouTube, right? Because I can't do it by myself, right? I mean, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do with these things, right? Yeah, I'll try and make a website. Yeah, I'll try and do this. Yeah, I'll try and do that. I mean, obviously, I have to try and do these things. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I need to pick up some speed here. Right? So, this is what I'm saying. I'm going to take over this room, right? I haven't been in it pretty much since ShaMay's died, because I've never once gone into Edgar's room. Since Edgar's been there, I've never I never had to flip the breaker, because the breaker's in there. I've never had to flip the breaker, nothing. I've never been back into that room until the fucking cops were standing there with me saying, oh, why is there just a bed in here? Where is everything? Well, I don't know. You didn't fucking show up. You guys were balking at the bit. You guys were fucking stalling. Right? And then after that, within a couple of weeks or whatever, Edgar moved in. And I haven't been in there since. But I pulled out the outfits and they're in my living room now. This is just one batch. I have another batch somewhere else. And that will be enough to get us started. I cleared off my serger to do these diapers, because if I remember correctly now, what happens is you don't want that fold, people. You don't on diapers. You don't even want that serged. What you need is just a rolled hem. Just a rolled hem. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I got my serger available. Now I have to find white thread, and I have to thread everything. It's been a long time. And then I got to look in the book and try and figure out, because I can't remember how to do it anymore, to make a rolled hem. Let's just push one button down to a 5 or something. And then it will give you a rolled hem, and then you just do a rolled hem on those seams. And then once those diapers are done, well, I don't know. So anyway, don't know if anything I said made sense today. Right? I'm just trying to it's being on that roller coaster. Right? Don't know if you can stay. Don't know what the ramifications of staying are. Like, if you can't live in peace and not worry from month to month how you're going to be forced out of your house, having no place to go, leaving your charitable donations behind, right? I walk away from the greenhouse. I walk away from the garden beds. I walk away from, the pond. I walk away from everything that's going on in the front, all the walkways that I laid down with bricks. I walk away from all of that, people. Right? All of that when I walk away from this place. And knowing that, and then have to worry as somebody's, kicking you in the ass to speed up that process in terms of get out, right? Because I have to pay this extra rent now, right? And it's rent that my landlord isn't even satisfied with. She wants $200 more than what I'm already going to be compensating in terms of the $525. So I'm covering the $525, plus I still have to scrounge around for an extra $200 just to bring it up to par to where she'll be happy for a while and stay quiet and not bug me. Right? By, and I don't mean bug me, but, it's called gaslighting, subliminal messaging, or just whatever, right? Sometimes she comes straight out and asks, and sometimes she hints around. It's like, I'm just now scrounging. I'm scrounging now. I'm scrounging. Right? I'm scrounging, and there is no peace. There is no peace because it's never enough. And being that it's never enough, it's just a matter of time before I have to leave, and I have to walk away from those hardware if I get a chance to run some of these hoses before winter sets in, right? Just to clean up the yard, because that's the only reason that these hoses are around. I just haven't had time to go out there and connect them yet, right? Because the chances of me moving out this winter are very slim, right? I can't see it happening in spring, because it has to be a process, right? But for now, these outfits are going to go into Auntie ShaMay's room, and I'm going to clock, Auntie ShaMay's closet. That's where they're going. It's actually true. That's where they're going. I'm already looking around for dressmaking forms. Right? I brought out the stand for one of them. I'm not sure which one they belong to anymore because I have several dressmaking forms. And I'm just gonna okay, let me end it on this note. This is the perfect way to end it on this note, being that we are talking about Auntie ShaMay and outfits. Okay. Back in the day when I was younger, I did a lot of sewing. And I used to sew for strippers, right? And in those days, clubs were, around. And there was something like 5,000 dancers in the province of British Columbia, Canada. That's a lot of girls. So the circuit was good. It had a really, really good circuit, right? And I used to go to 2 to 3 main hotels, right? Every week, I'd run the circuit. And through my circuit, the girls, 5,000 of them, ran through their circuit. And obviously not that many costume makers, so at some point I became pretty popular. So I was pretty busy, right? And then when I got pregnant with ShaMay, obviously I was already in that circuit, right? Sewing. And then on the week that I had ShaMay, when ShaMay was born, I was working with the girls because I had been working with the girls, right, every week. Because every week it's a new batch of girls, right? And between, 3 to 4, 2 to 3 clubs every week, and basically a new batch of girls. And then after 3-4 months, the circuit would go through and you'd get your regulars going through, right? And you'd see them again or whatever. Okay, so I had orders, right? I went in, I took my orders, did whatever, and at the end of the week, it was a Friday, and I had my big belly. ShaMay was ready to be born, right? She was 2 weeks early. Anyway, I went up the stairs, and these stairs are like it was an old hotel, right? So, whatever, carried my bag, whatever, did whatever, went back home, okay, and then eventually what happened that evening is I started developing contractions, right? So that by midnight, my water broke. And then from there, John and I, and it was ShaMay, it was just like little pains, and then all of a sudden it went, and I was standing in the kitchen with these, little pains, and then all of a sudden it went, I could actually feel go like this, and my water broke, and then, I said, Jesus Christ, John, right? Let's pack up the kids. So we packed up the kids into the car, and then I drove 3 blocks in between contractions, and Uncle John and I were laughing, right? With a towel between my legs, I'm driving old Betsy, right? Got the kids to the babysitter, went back home in between contractions, laughing, joking, right? It was so funny. And then went home and called a taxi. Taxi came, and then we're joking in the car, and he's like joking and don't have baby in car. He was a Punjabi man with, his turban, and he was all like, oh. So got to the hospital, and then, when ShaMay was born, Uncle John was sitting there and then just gave him to John. And that was it. Well, anyway, went back home. They released me. I was bleeding a little heavy with her. So they kept me for 1 extra day. So by the 3rd day, right, they said, okay, you can go home because I need to go home. I want to go home. I don't want to stay here. Let me go home. She was my 4th child. Said, okay, you can go home. So they let me go home. And I'm telling you, people, the fucking very next day, I was downstairs in the basement sewing because I had shit I had to do because I already was making plans to do it before I gave birth to ShaMay. And Uncle John's down there holding the baby as I'm sewing. He was in a rocking chair. And I basically did that for like 6-7 months. That's all John did was hold ShaMay so that I could fucking sew and keep up with the girls and what they needed. Right? I mean, it went more longer than 6 months, but to hold her, that's all he did. He used to keep me company while I was downstairs in the basement sewing, sitting in a rocking chair holding ShaMay. So really, honestly, these things going into Auntie ShaMay's closet makes sense when you think about it. When you take it in that context, right? I'd go take my outfits to the girls with ShaMay. And all the dancers, they'd be holding ShaMay. Oh, look at the little baby. Oh, little baby, baby's so cute. Right. I made a lot of money in those days, people. The girls were good. They were good girls, working hard. They put milk on the table. Uncle John didn't have no big fucking pension plan in those days. Who went into $40,000 into debt, people? I did. He was bankrupt. His wife had already bankrupted him. His pension was small. They waited until he got old before they took it. Because that's what the government does as people age. They up the ante. They make it so that these people, old people, become so vulnerable. And if they don't have the fucking hood rats in their own house, protecting those assets. The hood rats out there are going to come into the house and steal those assets, and that's what happened to Uncle John. Right? If we didn't need the money, I wouldn't have been fucking sewing. And I used to take ShaMay to the club with me, up those stairs, into the dancers' room, as they were doing whatever dancers do with outfits. Right? I used to go home and my kids would say, "Did you sell anything, Mom? Did you sell anything?" Walking in the door with the baby. Used to take Sierra in there sometimes with me. Right? The problem with Sierra is that she was introduced to methamphetamine in a fucking middle school in grade 8 by kids that were bringing it to school. Not Sierra's fault. So anyway, these are going downstairs into Auntie ShaMay's closet. It was my dream to teach my daughters, more than one, how to sew. I didn't really start sewing people until I was after I used to try and sew squares and make a quilt and shit like that when I was like 19, 22, because my mother always gave me sewing machines, said, "Here's a sewing machine, here, you teach yourself." That's what she'd say. So, at one point I sewed squares together. Oh, I made a quilt, right? And then I made baby blankets when I had Brooks. But I didn't really start sewing for other people until I was, pregnant with Sierra. I tried to do it before I got pregnant with Sierra. But I didn't really start getting good at it until I was at Wally's house. And by the time ShaMay was born, like I said, it was a circuit and it was running smoothly. I didn't make tons and tons and tons of money. Obviously I had a family, but it bought bread, it bought milk, it bought, maybe a pair of shoes, right? Things that, when you live in a society, Western society, and you're already starting to use credit cards just to get the basics in life, unless you want to live in a fucking, shack with no hydro and no lights and no gas and, you know what I mean? Like, this is Canada, man. You shouldn't have to go into $40,000 or $100,000 or whatever it is in debt just to be able to raise a family. But unfortunately, Uncle John wanted to live in a house. And because of that, once you move into houses, you start buying that hardware, right? So that you can run fucking hoses through your yard so you don't have to go from spot to spot to spot carrying around a hose getting all crimped up. You can just turn on the water and everything just sprinkles itself. And then you can just go and turn off the water. That's where I want my yard to be. I haven't gotten there yet. I have the hardware. Now it's a debate of whether I want to make a donation or not. Because I feel like I'm being forced out of this house. Right? So, why the hell do I want to leave $200 worth of fucking hardware behind? Well, I can simply put it on Craigslist and sell it for $150. Get my money back before I leave. Why do I want to put in a fucking pond if I'm just being forced out of my house? But realistically, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. So, why should I have a bad attitude about it? So this is what I'm kind of like hoping that if I go into ShaMay's room, even though I'm feeling kind of like sad, right? Take that and turn it into something good, right? Auntie ShaMay's closet will be hopping. That will be something good, right? And then all those dolls I have for Alea May that I want to write stories for, that's her runway, right? Maybe Alea May might be the fashion designer I could never be. Maybe Alea May will have this great fashion show one day that is like spectacular, that, do you see where I'm kind of going with that? Versus all this doom and gloom in regards to what the public union sector has done to my family. Okay. As you can see, this is a little dress, a little party dress. This one I really like. This one I really like.